All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Martin's World podcast. And before I get into introducing today's guest, I'd like to just remind you that if you want to support the show and support the fight for cannabis legalization in Ireland, you can do so by signing up to the patreon.com/Martin's World, or you can also make a donation in the form of cryptocurrencies over on martinsworld.ie. Up there on the homepage of the website, you'll find a button to donate bitcoins, or else there's QR codes up there as well if you'd like to support the show with other cryptocurrencies also. All of the funds gathered there, guys, will be used to fight for cannabis legalization in Ireland, and hopefully someday soon open up a cannabis activist hub here in Cork City. Today's guest then, guys, is a regular listener of the show. It's Green Tea. Green Tea is a full-time carer for her husband who suffers with a severe case of multiple sclerosis. Her husband's condition seriously deteriorated in the last few years due to the MS, which has led to him being paralysed on the left side of his body. Not only is he paralysed on the left side of his body, but on top of this, he's extremely limited motor skills on the right side of his body, with him even having no sense of touch in his right hand. Green Tea cares for her husband around the clock, starting her duties at 6 o'clock in the morning, and she's done this for over 3 years now without a day off. And she's unable to take a day off as she's also a provider of her husband's medicine in that she grows cannabis from. This means the Green Tea is unable to avail of supports like home help, as she is fearful that the cannabis plants would be discovered, leading to the Gardaí interfering in their lives. Green Tea started growing cannabis not long after the pandemic started, as they could not afford to keep buying the substandard and overpriced cannabis off the black market, which was helping with her husband's condition. Also including that they couldn't afford the €500 per month price tag on the legally available Sativex, as they would not be reimbursed for this because it does not qualify for the reimbursement there under the Irish medical scheme. Green Tea is just another one example of so many people out there right now that are illegally sourcing and growing their own cannabis to treat symptoms of serious life-threatening conditions. The reason Green Tea is not using her real name or image in this interview, guys, is because she's fearful of being targeted by the authorities for doing the right thing and providing an effective remedy for her partner's life-limiting condition. And I hope more people find the courage to speak out, just like Green Tea is here, and to help highlight the suffering caused by the prohibition of cannabis. So guys, sit back, relax, roll up, and enjoy this interview with Green Tea. Green Tea, thanks very much for taking the time out of your evening. And I know you've had a busy day there. You've been saying you've been running around and almost, worried that you weren't going to make it. I kind of had something similar going on myself, but not for the same reasons. You were quite busy today because you're a full-time carer of your husband. And also because of your husband's condition, you are the provider of his medicine effectively, because you have to grow and process cannabis for your husband who suffers with multiple sclerosis as well.
Yeah.
So thanks very much, Green Tea, again, and fair play for coming out like this and speaking out, because the people need to be made aware of this. You're not alone in this situation, but we rarely hear from people like yourself. So thanks very much again. And if you'd like to just give yourself a bit of an introduction there of anything I might have missed out, if you'd like.
Well, first I want to say, like, what you do is important as well, because you kind of bring us all together, because I would have felt so much more lonely if I hadn't like stumbled across your wee channel on YouTube and started chatting to people and like then chatting to you and that. Well, I'm Green Tea. I am a family carer. I have been doing it now for about 4 years. 5 years ago, my husband was walking around doing his normal job, like everyday life, driving, everything, and then he caught a chest infection, and then like a year after, like whatever happened to his immune system after that, it turned even harder on him than it already was, because multiple sclerosis it's a disease where your immune system attacks your nervous system.
Yeah.
And whatever immune response that chest infection he had caused like just an absolute decline. Like within the year he was on sick leave and wasn't going back. So that, like, he had been smoking cannabis his whole life. Like he's been a weeder for years, like, and And like his first symptoms of MS are in his early 20s, and like he only had them for a little while and they went away. And he didn't have anything again until he was in his mid 30s, which a few stressful things happened. And I think that's what exacerbated it. But I'm pretty sure he probably didn't have any symptoms because he was a pothead for most of his 20s. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was diagnosed in 2007. He was grand. He did a decline, like then he picked up again. He stopped working in 2018. Our whole life kind of fell apart. My career, like I was very, very good at what I did. I worked in financial services. So like I was, you know, I was an office type, right? And in school, I was like the real studious type. So the fact that I'm even doing this is like, if anybody actually knew it was me from where I lived, like they'd collapse down dead of a heart attack. I'm not even messing. Like, so 2018, I had to move back in with my mum, with him, because thank you, homeless crisis. We have been here ever since. We were just buying it on the black market because really at the start, when this all happened, like I fucking mentally, I was in a really bad place. And like my husband and his brother-in-law bought a tent and a light, and they were like basically saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. And my brother-in-law was going to do it. And then like his wife wouldn't let him. So it sat in his shed for a couple of years. And I didn't have space for it, so I couldn't do it. And then I got space for it because my sister had a business and she was running out of the house, and then she left, so there was space there for me. So he brought the tent like during lockdown. He brought the tent down like after the first lockdown, and I started growing it then like pretty intensively from last June or so on.
Yeah.
And then like I was really fucking shit at the start. Like I think everybody's really shit at the start, but even if you fuck it up, you still get something out of it. Like,
Yeah.
And then in September, like I think it was around October time, I found this Irish grower called Top Shelf Grower. He's out in Portugal or Spain or something like that. And he was doing like a daily video, and it was only like 3 or 4 minutes long. And I was like, okay, I can actually have time to watch this. Like, so I watched all them, and then by Christmas, like I had kind of moved on. I'd watched all his videos. Like there was one every night coming on at 9 o'clock. He had kind of programmed them, and the last one was on Christmas Eve. Like, so like my husband gives me money because he can't go shopping. He just gives me money for Christmas, and my birthday is around Christmas as well, so he gives me money for that. I just went and bought myself like a set for 2,000 and a tent, and like upgraded my whole system from there.
Very nice.
That's all I wanted, like and that, like I was able to put that one together myself, which was really cool because I'm shit at DIY. And then I kind of started watching Mr. Canuck. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a Canadian grower. He's on YouTube. And then the Hippie Geeks, which are like outdoor growers. He's a man who cares for his wife. She has spine degradation. So we like I watched all them like religiously. I learned so much, and then like it kind of started to get really good then. And well, I'm not like I think I'm pretty fucking good now at this stage. Excuse my
I think you're pretty good as well. I've seen some of those photos you sent me, like, and the plants are unable to even to hold up the weight that's on them. They're performing so well. No, that's a real credit to the grower there when you see a plant like that's just so dense, like it's such a lovely flower.
Oh my god, like it's unbelievable. I can't like if you can't believe it, I can't fucking believe it, because I think like you remember back in June there was an awful lot of really hot weather. I think that just hit the plant at the right time when it was in its growth phase, and that's how I ended up. I actually had to buy a bigger tent just to flower it. It was that big. Like now I needed one, but I went out and bought it just to get that, and I'm really, really happy now with how it's turned out. It's given me a great confidence boost. And like so I will tell you a wee bit more about symptoms, or can you edit out his name?
Oh, yeah, I can indeed, yeah, I can edit that
out. So right, I'll start with the top and work my way down. So he has depression, which is it's because of the pain. He's on a really high dose antidepressant for that, and they gave him one that has neuropathic pain-killing properties to kill the pain, basically. So his lesions are all in his spinal cord. right? And most people who have MS get it in their brain. So if you get it in your brain will find a way to like map around it eventually, and you may see some improvement. But if it's in your spinal cord, it's so narrow, the damage is permanent, and there's not really anything that they can do. Like, so none of the treatments, like he had chemo, he had like to reset his immune system to see if they could stop it from attacking him. And then he did like intravenous steroids, like injecting himself with steroids every day for like years, and none of that worked. Like, so he's just kind of stuck with what he has now, and what he has is pretty bad. Like, his eyes is the next thing. He's got this condition called optic neuritis, which means that if he's looking at you, his eyeballs are jumping up and down in his head, or they're going side to side. So it looks like you're just moving it, like he can't watch TV or he can't read. The weed stops that in its tracks completely. Absolutely, completely. He can go on Twitter, he can watch TV, he can do whatever he wants, like, you know.
Yeah, allows the eyeballs to relax so he can actually focus.
Yeah, it's the damage in the nerves in his eyes, in the back of his eyes, have been eaten away by the MS, and that's just what happens. And they also like tear up, and not just tear, but you know, the sleep stuff. All of it just starts running out of his eyes when he gets an attack of it. It's really painful and horrible.
So this is something that kind of comes and goes, but when it's there, then the cannabis alleviates it.
Yeah, but like if he takes the cannabis all the time, he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
It's only like when I kind of run out, or if he's on a weaker strain that I've grown, like that he'll get it, or in the mornings because he hasn't had any smoke during the night. Then he's paralyzed on his left side. He has no motor skills left in his right hand, so like he can move his fingers like a little bit, but if he leaves his hand, it just clenches into a fist because it just curls in on itself like that.
Yeah.
And he can feed himself a little bit, but not much. And he can touch on his iPad, but he couldn't type or use the TV remote or anything like that.
Jeez. So how would he consume cannabis then?
I roll him joints, and I just put them in his mouth basically, and once it's in his mouth, he can focus his fingers enough once the nerves in his mouth are touching it, like basically, because the feeling in his fingers is gone. He can't really use it, but the feeling in his mouth isn't, so he can use his mouth and fingers. He also has damage to the nerve in his neck that controls, do you know any of those Secret Service movies that you've ever watched where they do that thing on the shoulder and they just collapse over? Well, that nerve in him is damaged. So if he smokes a bong or if he smokes a joint that's too thick, he'll cough himself unconscious. And the first time that happened, he actually died for 10 seconds. And we were in Glasgow at the time, and he wouldn't go to the hospital, the bastard. So I was just the whole night watching him, like it was awful. And it happened 3 or 4 more times before the doc, like his neuro, then just told him that must be what it is. It's just damage to that nerve. So you have to be like, COVID would have killed him, like just not even if he'd gotten a bad dose of it, even if he'd just gotten a cough, like the bad cough, that would have ended him, like. So he's also, well, his bladder doesn't work, so he needs catheterizing 4 times a day. So I do that. His legs don't work. He has really bad circulation and neuropathic pain in his feet. That was one of his first symptoms, was pain in his feet. And when he has a shower or that, like when I give him a shower and I bring him out, like his feet will be like nearly black from the cold. So he gets a foot spa and a scrub and then a massage and then socks on over it. And he had so my day then would start at about 6 in the morning. Right. I get up early. I read the news because fuck it, you have to these days. Then I get up, I let the dog out around 7. He wakes up. I dress him, I put him in the hoist, I put him in the wheelchair, I drain his bladder, I bring him up to the sitting room, make him 2 coffees, give him a juice, give him a joint, give him his morning medication. Once he's finished his coffees, I put him into his chair with the hoist, and then at 8 o'clock then I head down to my plants. I don't keep my plants on timers. My feminized because I literally want to be down there twice a day. And that forces
You
me
go
to be
down and
there.
turn on and off the lights yourself, yeah?
To make sure, like I check them, like my veg tent's on a timer. It's on an
Yeah.
18-6, but my flower tents aren't. Because basically when they're in flower, like if anything goes wrong, I would be raging. So I like if there's any, like I check them twice a day. If there's any moisture, any mold, anything like that, I check them. Any defoliation needs to be done, I do it. Any low stress training, I do it in the morning, and then I just turn the lights off and come back up. And then if I have to go to town or anything, I'll do that early. Because I know that he's just been to the bathroom and he's dressed and he's medicated, like he's grand.
Yeah.
If I have to roll joints, I'll do that before I go, if he doesn't have any left from the night before. Then around 11, I'll give him his breakfast. Then when I get back around 11 o'clock, he will go for a nap. He'll wake anytime between 2 and 4. So when he's in bed, then I do his meds, roll his joints. If I have to ring people or fill in forms or ring doctors or whatever, I do that. And if I have to do transplants, I do that when he's in bed. Like if I have a plant that needs to go into a beer pot, I do it like during the day because it's getting too dark in the fucking mornings now to do fucking anything. And then when he gets up, then I drain his bladder. I put him in the hoist, I drain his bladder again. I bring him back up here. I put him into his chair. I give him a joint. I give him his meds, and then the whole cycle goes again. Then around 6, I get up and do the dinner, and any dishes like from earlier in the day. And then once that's done, like I'll feed him then, and then I'll have my dinner. And then around 8, then I go back down and turn the lights on, and check them again.
Yeah.
And that has worked well for me because I've spotted a few things that could have been problems that I wouldn't have spotted if they were on a timer and I was too lazy, just couldn't be arsed going down to check on them. Like, so it's been good. But then I come back up at 8 o'clock. I put my mother on her Zoom rosary, and then I watch MasterChef, and then we might watch a movie if he's up to it or whatever. I'll have a smoke. Just relax then because most of the work is done. If he needs a shower, he has it after his nap, but it's an awful lot of work on him.
Yeah.
Like he just be really tired after it. He can only do it like 3 times a week. It just wipes him out completely for the day. But most of the time now I wash him. He can't wash himself anymore, and I dry him and I put him in his dressing gown in the hoist and then back up, and I help him brush his teeth and do that every day.
Yeah.
And then he goes to bed around 11, and then I have a couple of hours into myself, just smoke and listen to a bit of music.
Well, fair play like that. That's incredible dedication there to your partner. So well done. He's actually incredibly lucky to have a person like that in his life. Yeah, and then you come with the ability to grow his medicine too, which is just a real cherry on top of it. Then,
thank you, Martin. You're a sweetheart.
no problem at all. So I suppose with your husband's condition, you said it kind of all started back in 2007 when it started. Was cannabis always kind of central to treating some of the symptoms there, or when did he realize that, like, hey, this cannabis I was using actually was providing medicinal benefits?
You see, we used to buy hash, right? Because we were fucking poor. So that's all we ever bought. And then when so it was doing something, it was keeping things at bay, but it wasn't like, he'd still get the twitches, he'd still get the optic neuritis more often than what he does now. But when the pandemic started, obviously you couldn't get hash because you couldn't get hash for love nor money up here. And all you could get was green flower, and it was €260 for a half an ounce, and that would do him a fortnight.
Yeah, 260. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So we were broke fucking buying it, absolutely fucking smashed. And I was stressed a bit because even if I had the money, I wouldn't always be able to get it on time, and then you'd have 3 or 4 days of just watching them go down, and get worse and worse. And that was the worst of it, because but when he really discovered that it did work medically was when we went to Colorado. We took a holiday after he retired, and and we went over there so we could try the legal stuff, and like there was a whole tourism kind of thing over there for it. So I was able to book like a car to pick us up from the airport, bring us to the dispensary, bring us to the hotel, and rent out a vaporizer to use in the hotel room. Because it's like a desktop vaporizer type thing, and you plug it in. And yeah, it was great. Like, it was great for him, and he landed in Colorado. Like, we were so bad when we were leaving Dublin. Like, the guy behind us gave up his first class seat for him because he couldn't walk onto the plane. Yeah, so he rode business class, and I was like, and me and your man were like sitting in the back. But he was lovely. Like, it was a really nice thing, and I think I don't think he would have had as great a time if he hadn't been able to rest properly on the way over.
Yeah.
And so like when he got back on the plane then to leave, he walked to his seat.
After being in Colorado medicating for the duration.
And he was on a cruise ship as well, like a wobbly cruise ship, and he was walking around grand.
Yeah, and could I just ask, the 14 grams of cannabis, the half ounce, that's 260. How long would that like last? If for your 2 weeks you would get out of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a bit longer than others. I think there's like Health Canada would recommend for some people up to 3 grams a day, which be going by those numbers. But would you be stretching it at 2 weeks, or would you be comfortable?
Oh yeah, because I'd have to I had to just basically tell him you can have one joint every 2 hours and that's it.
Yeah, so you are rationing it.
Yeah, but I don't. When this all dries, I'm hoping I won't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Nice.
But I can already see like the bit that I dried out and he smoked is already starting to make a little bit of a difference. Like, he's a bit steadier in himself. Like, he's not wobbling as much when he tries to sit up, because he can't sit up. Like, if he sits up, he'll just keep falling back. But now you can kind of see a bit of steadiness coming in his shoulders when he tries to come forward. So it's good to see that it's starting to work. Right. And in about a week now, he'll have got hopefully about 3 or 4 months supply of it. If hopefully longer, but I don't fucking know. I'm just like, I don't want to jinx anything until I get past the stage where mold could be a fucking thing,
Yeah, that's it. Don't count your eggs before they hatch, or don't count your chickens before they hatch.
The only other thing then is that I have no home help and I've never had respite. So all the stuff that I told you that I do it on my own, and nobody else ever does it with me. Like,
7 days a week, 364 days a year.
Yeah, I haven't had a day off since he left work. Like, I haven't had a night off. I had one night off because he was in the hospital for a sleep study, but it wasn't even really because I had to sit with him in the hospital till 9 o'clock that night and come back from 9 o'clock the next morning.
I'd imagine, given in that situation, you're probably a part of other groups with partners who look after their partner in similar situations. Would you find any groups like that in here in Ireland at all?
No, I don't. I don't. Like, there's some Facebook groups. I'm not part of like my family care, saying as this is anonymous, I can fucking say it. My family carers Ireland rep just will not ring me back. The one from my area just will not ring me back. No matter how many voicemails I leave her, no matter how many times she tells somebody that knows me that she's going to do it, she just won't. And
is there any reason for that? Have you been fought?
No, I've never even spoken to the woman in my life. I don't know. So that's literally it. I've never spoken to her.
Strange. Why I was going to ask in that, I suppose, is what would be the situation for another person, like in that situation, in terms of respite? Like, how often would a person get respite from, like, how often would they get home health coming in and to give you a couple of days for yourself to recover? And
for his, he can get to, I have been dying to go into a respite centre. There's an MS respite centre in Dublin for a week or maybe 2 weeks, I don't know. But I have some paperwork that I'm waiting just to come through, and I can't basically book him in until all of that is sorted. It's completely separate, but he needs to be here in case I need him to go and see somebody or whatever.
But the problem then is if he goes in there, he won't be able to use his cannabis then while he's in there.
See, I'm hoping that, like, I can just roll him a lunchbox full and they'll let him, but if they don't, it's
I think the smell would be a problem for him, maybe.
I don't know, but like his whole family lives in Dublin, so they'll be able to come. Like, if I can't, I'll just leave it with his brother-in-law or with his brother or his son, like, and they can go in with it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
unfortunate. Like even in America, where medical cannabis is tolerated in certain states and legalized in certain states, their hospitals still can't work with patients. You know, patients still have to sneak in their cannabis. Even over in America, it's still like so. I suppose we've a bit to go, but you know, hearing how cannabis has benefited your husband, I would hate to think what it would be like for him to have 2 weeks without it inside of there. You know, if these kind of
yeah, that's
episodes with his
why.
wife and stuff were to come on. It'd be very
Um, I
unfortunate.
was I was thinking about maybe just making him some edibles
Hmm.
and seeing if I made some really strong ones, I could send those in with him.
Yeah, well, that'd be probably the only way you could
Uh,
camouflage the use
or
of it.
yeah, because you see, I dry trim, and I know everybody says that you shouldn't do that, but I don't fucking care. But I keep all the dry trim so that I can use it to make creams and make like canna butter and stuff like that. So that's the plan anyway.
Yeah, no, and
Um,
I don't think there's no wrong way. Well, there is wrong ways to do it, like,
yeah.
but dry trimming and wet trimming, I think it's just down to personal preference, really. Like,
uh,
it's kind of
I
like something
just
I was doing with my daughter a while ago in maths. There's more than one ways to do a sum.
um, but no, but to answer a previous question, should probably have people in here every day.
Every day, yeah, really.
Because the hoist that he has, like, right, the OT, God bless her, she came, she showed me how to use it a couple of times, and then she left me with an instruction book, and then she left. And like the instruction book, the first thing it says in bold writing is, "This needs to be operated by 2 people."
And two people.
But it's just me, like it's always just
Yeah.
me. So like it's a bit bizarre, but like I can't take the chance, because you see, the worst possible thing that could happen was that somebody confiscated my smoke and he didn't have it anymore.
Hmm.
That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. Me burning out, I can handle that. Like, I've been handling that for many years now. Like, it's taken an awful lot to break me. But what would break me is if I had all, like, because I do love my plants, I love growing. If I had all my plants taken off me, like, I'd be devastated. I think it would actually break me more. Like, those would be the two worst things that could possibly happen: him having no smoke and me having no plants to go. So um that's because the plant growing is the only thing that really gets me through the hard days, like, because it's something that I can just go and do. Or even when you're trimming, like, you don't really have to be thinking about anything, you're just looking at this bud with a pair of scissors in your hand. Like, it's
Yeah,
really good for like clearing the mind, and just stick on a podcast or some music and away you go. Like,
yeah.
and now ask me in 2 weeks if I still feel this way, because I have to dry trim that entire thing my fucking self.
Yeah.
um but yeah, no, I do enjoy it. Like,
Yeah, I've had some good trimming sessions myself. I've often dropped in and helped out a few friends, but it can be quite meditative. We might start off all chatty, but like you're 2 hours in, and next there's just silence in the room, and you realize, hey, we haven't talked for the last like half hour, like, and everybody's just off in their own little zone, like just. And it's nice. It's really good for the head, like, because it really grounds you, brings you into the present, kind of, and engage you with your thoughts and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that as well. And yeah, as you say though, after like 8 hours of it, you're just kind of like, thank God I'm done with that. Blisters in your hands and everything.
I don't even think I'm going to be able to do it all. I think I'm just going to have to jar up some of it and then trim it later. But it's just like I can't. I don't even think the videos really tell you how big it is, because it's. I just can't. Like, I really can't believe it. I really can't believe that I grew it that big. I'm not, like, I never ever thought, like, in my life, if you'd asked me like 10 years ago, you'll be living, if you'd told me 10 years ago I'd be living back in my ma's house growing weed, I would have fucking laughed at you. I would have laughed at you. Like, um
And
so it's a bit mental, but it's great. Like, I am very happy doing it. Like, it really does bring me a lot of joy.
yeah, it seems like you're incredibly empowered by the act of doing that, being able to
Yeah.
provide your own cannabis. But as I suppose the most important thing for you is to have cannabis for your husband. Like that must be an incredibly empowering thing to do. And it's just, you have to wonder why the government are not allowing people to do this. You're able to be like, you would be no burden on the state as such. Like, you're in fact, like, because of your growing of cannabis, you're almost less of a burden because you're not getting the home help that you're actually entitled to, and any of the other kind of care and assistance
Well,
that
you
would be
see,
there too.
when people talk about like family carers saving the state 15 to 20 billion euros a year, what they're actually saying is we steal 15 to 20 billion euros off these family carers every year, and we don't pay them a living wage, we don't give them pension rights, we don't give them respite, we don't give them holidays. So I really don't think it's a boastful thing to say. But yeah, the growing like MS, because there's no cure, there's nothing you can do, all you can do is just sit and watch.
Treat it.
Like you can't treat it, like you just have
Sorry,
to sit
treat
there
the
and
symptoms of it. Sorry.
yeah, exactly. You just have to sit there and watch as they get worse and worse. But growing cannabis kind of stopped me from feeling that way, because he is getting worse, but like it's nowhere near as fast, and like it's nowhere near as bad as it would be if he didn't
Yeah.
have it.
And that was
Because
something you were talking about earlier, I suppose, with your husband's condition and everything that you faced. You found that incredibly hard yourself, and you found yourself in the kind of battling about of depression. And cannabis has
yeah,
been, like as you say, a shining light there for you, like the get out
yeah,
of that deep dark hole of depression.
yeah, it's a fucking drag, Martin, but what can you do?
Uh,
Yeah, basically I went through like 2 antidepressants. I went to a counselor. I did all the fucking mindfulness and the fucking all that shit that they tell you that you should do, and then they just eventually turn around and said it's not, like it's basically your life. It's
mhm.
it's the fact that you're looking after somebody with a terminal illness is making you fucking depressed.
Yeah,
So there's nothing we can give you that's going to change that, right?
yeah, your environment is
Um,
driving your condition.
yeah. So that sucked an awful lot. Like I mean, I kind of felt then that's just the way I was just going to feel forever, and I felt that way for like maybe 2 years or so, and like I wasn't like going anywhere, I wasn't seeing anyone. I was like I would go out with the dog, and but like my head would be down, like I wouldn't want to talk to anyone, and I just I kind of just closed up, and it wasn't until like the pandemic then happened, my mental health improved. I'm probably the only person in the fucking country whose mental health got better during a fucking global pandemic. But I felt like, you know, we're trapped in the house all the time, and I have been for like a really long time. So when everybody else was trapped in the house, it didn't really feel as bad. I know that sounds really terrible.
Yeah.
But I think it felt like people understood us a little bit more, like his family definitely understand us a little bit more now, and what it's like.
Hmm.
Um, so, but then like when you start kind of growing, and it's not just like the growing, like, you know, you're growing it for medicine, yes, you're growing it to help someone, and it's making you feel better about yourself because you're actually able to improve their condition. It's also like a really creative outlet, when you're like planting them and watching them grow and like trimming them up. Like it is kind of arty. I think it's very arty, and I love it. I really do. And I have some really cool pink strains that I'm going to be growing soon. I'm very
Oh, lovely,
excited.
lovely. Yeah, no,
Um,
there's no denying though that gardening is incredibly therapeutic when it's going right for
yeah. Well, I'm
you.
not gonna lie, I have not been sleeping the last couple of weeks thinking about this harvest. I'm very like, I've been waiting for it for so long now. I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Just can we get past the mold stage, please, and then I'll be all right.
Fingers crossed anyway. We light a candle down here and I'll say a few prayers.
Thanks.
And I suppose just on the topic of growing and your situation there, is is the worry of the authorities coming in, is that like always at the front of your mind, or is it something that you try to keep at the back of your mind, or is it something
I
you've no
try,
problem with?
I fucking try not to think about it because I know it would wreck my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if I was caught and I did have to go to court, like, you know, I would use it as a way of getting drawn attention to what's happening and the way that patients are being treated. And I would be like on to Gino Kenny, and I would be on to you, and I would be on to the fucking papers. I'd be emailing Ephemer. I'd be doing everything to try and get someone to talk to me. Like I've already had articles, and like that article in the Business Post where I've spoken to a journalist about it. So it would be the worst thing in the world for me, but it would be very good for the movement of legalizing cannabis, as awful as that is to say. So if it did happen, like the only way I'd be able to survive it is to think about how it could positively actually help someone or
Yeah.
help us all. or all the patients in the country get access to what they need.
Well,
But
geez,
I
fair
really
play
hope
to you. You have
I
a
know
real heart of
that's
gold, like, honestly.
if I like, I know it scares the life out of me. It really does. Even thinking about it, like, is really scary, because like as I told you, like, I was always like the good girl. So the idea of getting arrested, just, oh my God, it terrifies the fucking life out of me. But like, I'd be very respectful and just saying this, and I've already talked to his MS nurse, and they said if I get caught, they'll give me a letter for court, because you see, he can get a prescription for the legal stuff, but it's €500 every time, like, and you can't claim that back from the state. So it's of no
Because his
cost.
is spasticity related MS, is it?
Yeah, Sativex, that is what they would give him, and they don't cover that.
But in terms of the conditions, though, isn't MS is included, but it's only a particular type of MS, isn't it? Like there's a few.
It's all MS, but the drug that they give you for the MS is not approved for the refund scheme. So you
Okay.
know the way like Vera kind of gets it and then she gets the money back. I wouldn't get any money back. I would just have to buy it.
Okay.
So it's legal for somebody who's rich enough to afford
Mm-hmm.
a cannabis prescription, but it's
And would
not
you
legal.
not be interested in a ministerial license for the Bedrocan products at all from Holland, or is that the same issue there with the funding?
I haven't really looked at the Bedrocan, because the only one that the nurse said he would get is Sativex.
Okay, yeah, I would definitely maybe explore that one again, just out of just to leave no leaf unturned, because
Yeah, it's for spasticity, so that's what they'd be giving him.
yeah,
Um,
they definitely have the products there within the Bedrocan range as well. They have the oils there that would be for conditions like that
well, I mean,
also.
I'll have a look at it and I might ring them about it. But honestly,
Uh,
like, I mean, I'd be afraid of then getting this prescription and giving up my grow, and then it not being as good as just the actual plant, because that's what
you
I
can give
think
up the
would
grow.
happen. That's actually what I think would happen. I don't think it would be as effective for him, because the stuff I grow is strains that I picked for him. That it's not like just a drug that was made to treat everybody's MS. This is the strains that I picked to treat his. Everybody's different, like when it comes to MS. So
Yeah.
these are the ones that work best for him, because everything he has tried, everything has not worked except for this. And like, it's so heartbreaking to see all the effort he went to, like, to try and do all he was supposed to do to manage it, and take all the drugs and do everything, and just none of it makes a fucking difference. Like, all he does is just get worse. So seeing the cannabis lift him out of that, I just don't know if some pharma drug could do the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm skeptical of it, but like, I can get it. I can get the letter for court if I need it. I
Well,
don't.
let's hope you don't ever need it.
But yeah, no, I am fairly secluded, like, and I keep like, you know me, right? Your man from R420 shop place knows me. Podge knows my name, and then there's one other guy whose name in the chat I can't remember, knows my name, and that's it. Nobody else. You're the only people I talk to about it, like, do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at now. So I am very careful about who I tell.
Yeah.
The only time any, like, obviously my in-laws know, because I grow for my brother-in-law as well. But that's it.
Yeah, but then the nurse, the nurse just knows that he uses cannabis, but doesn't know that you grow
I
cannabis.
may have let it slip in front of her, and she said, "I did not hear that." I walked out of the room.
That you grow it, is it? You let that slip? Okay. Well, fair
She
play
was
to
one
her.
of the. She was literally, we were literally in the middle of a conversation where she was like, "I don't know why they don't just give it to people. I've got 20 patients with MS, 10 of them take cannabis, and they all say it helps." So really, at this point, the government, it's all down to lobbying, right? So there's so many big pharma companies in this country funneling their fucking profits through here, so they don't have to pay any taxes on them.
Yeah.
And they have just captured it. Like, Stephen Donnelly's suing the EU over fucking what is it? That's the hemp plant or something, like the CBD or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah,
And
that's
like,
the European Court of Justice ruling on the
yeah.
Canavape case. Yeah.
And he and they, like, there's a few years back, he was all talking about decriminalization before he got a whiff of power. Like,
Yeah.
look at him now, like, prick.
Yeah, there's somebody
And
who's got their hand up his rear end, and they're doing, he's just a puppet for the party. That's it. He was put in a
yeah,
position, and he's just doing the bidding for the party, really. He has no interest in the people.
I know, and there's no like, I mean, when you think about it, our courts and our justice system are so backed up. If we dropped everybody's cannabis possession charges, we'd free up so much fucking time.
Yeah.
Um, like all these fucking seizures, every time I see a cab seizure on the telly, right, all I see is all these fucking Rolexes and cars and houses, and that's all tax money. If that was legal, that would all be fucking in the coffers, like getting spent on housing or getting spent on health. So if it, like at this point, like the question has been answered, like, does keeping it illegal erase the demand for it? And the answer is no. The answer to that is fucking no. So where does the state then have a moral obligation to legislate and regulate on behalf of their own citizens when it's something like, what, we're the highest or the second highest cannabis users in Europe?
Yeah, we're up there in the highest,
Yeah.
17% in that recent Euro
So
bar.
like that's nearly 1 in 5 people, like, and you're just telling 1 in 5 people to go and buy it off the Kinahans or the UVF.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, like that's it's economic dereliction to allow that to continue, right?
Hmm.
It's also fucking morally bankrupt. And but there's like industries, especially like the legal industry, all that, they make so much money off this shit, like. And the guards, like, what are they going to do if they're not chasing down some fucker for weed? They might actually investigate a few rapes every now and again, oops, or some corruption. We might actually end up with a banker in prison.
Yeah.
That can't happen though. So it's really at this point like the only like, you're hearing Fianna Fáil, there's a Fianna Fáil TD talking about it, but only because literally 2 days before he started talking about it, Jeff Bezos has come out and said he wants it. And the
Hmm.
only reason he wants it is so that he can control the market for it. And if it gets legislated for under this government, like Gino's bill is not going to pass. I love him, right? But there's no way they're going to let that pass at all, even though they really should. Like, they'd never give a left-wing party a win like that, even if they did agree with it.
No.
And so if it is legislated for in this government, it will be going to people like fucking Pfizer, or it'll be going to Jeff Bezos and not the fucking farmers who actually need the revenue and
Well,
need the boost. Like,
that's where
so
it's
I
kind
don't
of going
know.
at the moment. Like, you even see the likes of Snoop Dogg there. I was covering on the 420 News earlier, and he's
Yeah,
investing
I saw that. Yeah.
13 million into a Portuguese medical cannabis company. But meanwhile, you're here, you're forced to grow your own. You can't even invest into your own little non-profit community collective cannabis grow for MS patients in your area, because you do it for your husband, and you're like, well, look, maybe there's another patient out there who needs it, and I could do it for them too, and
I would do it as well. That's the thing. I'd love to do it.
yeah.
I'd love to have them all. Like,
But it's just
I
messed up
love
that
to
that's the
go for.
situation. That, like, if,
Yeah,
if you've got millions in the bank, you're allowed to take part in the industry. But if you're a patient sick, it's like, no, 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 no. Sorry, you sit back there, so quiet down. Cannabis isn't medical at all. There's not enough evidence. But meanwhile, there's people literally handing over millions upon millions of euro, investing into the medical potential of cannabis, and trying to find their patented products before the prohibition falls down, because they have to make their money in that window. But like, if cannabis prohibition goes away and you can legally grow your plants freely, there's not as much money for these companies, like the 13 million there from Snoop Dogg into that company.
exactly.
There's not much money there for these investors. It goes away. So they're
Yeah.
all rushing now at the moment to try to get in there, and this narrow window before, and it's a narrow window. Cannabis prohibition is going to end. It might not be with Gino Kenny's bill, although I do believe that if we can get a strong enough movement of people here in Ireland, we can force the hand of the government. I believe we could force the hand of the government, on the ground of human rights, if we all just went out and marched, but in solidarity with people like yourself, and for your
Mhm.
husband, Alicia Maher, the many other
Yeah.
patients out there without cannabis, suffering, relying on criminals. Like, if we all just went out there and marched for them, we could really change this law overnight. And it's something that we just can't forget, that we the people have much more power than the people in power. Like,
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I would love to think that they would legalize it. I really would, but I'm so depressed from our politics. Like, actually, I can't even look at it sometimes. It just brings me down. Like, I just have no faith they can do anything. But yes, if we all decided to like march on the Dáil, that would be great. If we had more people saying like what I'm going to say right now, which is like, this is the loneliest I've ever been in my life. I can't talk to anyone. I can't go anywhere. I can't have anyone in the house. Like, the only people that I really talk to, as very pathetic as that sounds, is in the chatting ear thing, or like my stepdaughter, who's like my best friend. And we talk all the time. She's not
That's
that much
nice.
younger than me, like, so huh?
That's nice that you can confide in your stepdaughter, Darren.
Yeah, well, she's not that much younger than me, but she's pretty great. Like, but that's like, it's so fucking lonely when you like, I can't even talk to anyone about it. Like, and it's my passion, and I cannot talk to anyone about it. Like, imagine if like you love playing hurling and you were like a really great hurler, but you couldn't talk to anyone or tell anyone that you played it. Like, it's fucking awful. I'm dying to talk to people all the time about it. And
Yeah, it would eat
um,
up at you. It would make you remain silent in a room because the thing that you want to talk about, you can't talk about. So you're always thinking of what else can I talk about outside of this thing that I want to talk about, you know?
yeah,
You're always dancing
and
around the
like,
thought in your head. And that's very tiring as well in itself, like on top of everything else you're already doing. So again, it's just
and
another victim of prohibition right here.
exactly my fucking social life. But yeah, no, like I love talking about it. Like, it's basically, it's really like, I'm going to give myself a PhD in weed if I can manage it, and just keep learning as much as I can now when I'm stuck in the house, and do what I can to make it better. But like, if there was like if an MS patient approached me, like, I don't think I could say no. And I wouldn't even charge, I just give them some, because I just don't think it's morally right to charge people for medicine.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not morally right to be doing what our government is doing. And
Especially when it's a plant, like it's
it's
literally, when I was talking about the other day, if you were growing lettuce out your back garden and if your neighbour wanted a bit of lettuce, sure, you'd give it to him. You give him a couple of heads. Here's a few extra
exactly,
heads there. Yeah, we growing out the back garden, sure. It's no cost to me. But meanwhile, this cannabis plant, it's just like it's almost treated like, you know, that I don't know, gold dust, like it's so valuable, but it's only valuable because of the prohibition. We lose sight of the fact that it's a
yeah,
plant. It
exactly.
grows in about the same period of time it takes
Yeah.
to grow a head of lettuce. And why are we
Like,
overvaluing it?
they find it in tombs in the pyramids, they find it in the fucking Andes, they find it everywhere. Like, it's been grown it was grown in this country for like something like 10,000 years before it was ever criminalized. And it was only ever criminalized as a way of targeting Black and Latino people in
Yeah.
the States. And
Did
then that
you?
whole propaganda just spread. So
Yeah.
um like, all we are basically, we legislated for this is a racist law, like, and that's all it is. That's really how it was all rooted in racism, and now we are all fucking paying the price for it. Like,
Well, just even the word, I've done a whole episode on it, like, but just the word marijuana, that was
yeah,
coined by a bunch of racist dudes that were like, right,
yeah,
we
to
want
make
to.
it sound Spanish.
Yeah, it's like this media campaign they ran heavy-handed back then. And you think about a media campaign, the power of it back in the 1920s and 30s, when
Yeah.
the only form of like news and stuff was the media, you know, the newspapers. Like we all have the power of these devices now. We can go on and get all our own independent media channels online today. But back then you didn't. So you had a few individuals controlling the press, and these people had an agenda there, and to keep cannabis, like to demonize cannabis, was a part of that agenda. Because you just as well at the same time had the ending of alcohol prohibition. So with the ending of alcohol prohibition, they needed something else for these agents of prohibition to go after. And it's like, oh well, we have this thing here that all these Mexicans and these jazz musicians are consuming. Let's use that to go after them. And in the 60s, 70s, then it was the hippies and the black people of the civil rights movements. It's like, all right, let's have a war on drugs. But in effect, it wasn't. It was a war on black people and hippies. And that's
Exactly.
where we're seeing it now, 50 years on from that. And here we are. And you're another victim of this
Yeah,
long waged
we're
war.
living in the fucking Reagan years. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, but I don't know if you've ever heard of a TV show called Penny Dreadful City of Angels, but it's set in Los Angeles around that time. And it's about like the rise of fascism and the right in the United States at the time. And it does kind of show you like that media thing, and like how all these little racist fucking shits were in charge of everything. And it just makes you angry, like, because we have to live with the legacy of that. And it's not just like that law. There's so many other laws that we are now living with and that don't make any sense at all. Like, they don't make any sense at all.
But do you know what
And
the
this is
real
probably
killer is? You know, the very first law that existed around cannabis, it actually made a lot of sense. And do you know what that law was? It was
no.
if you were a farmer back in the early days of America in the when they were the plantations,
Mhm.
you were required by law to grow hemp on your land. You
That's
grow
right.
cannabis on your land. If you didn't grow cannabis on your land, you would get like massive fines. And that was because cannabis was such a utilized crop at the time for like sales, for clothes, for food, for animal feed. It was ridiculous. It was so used. And I think even Vera talked about something there the other day on the Simple Life podcast that she done an interview. But she talked about how CBD would have been intertwined. Well, cannabinoids would have been kind of a part of our food system based
Yeah.
upon kind of our agricultural practices. That if we were growing this cannabis plant, the hemp plant, as they might have called it, that we were using that to feed the animals. But the cannabinoids from that then were getting into the animals, and then we were consuming the
Yeah.
milk and the cheese from the animals. You know, even the meat from the animals, the eggs from the animals, and these would carry the cannabinoids or maybe some other precursors there that are now missing from our food chain because we no
I
longer do
know.
this. We switched over to the fucking corn and all sorts of nasty
Yeah,
shit.
like we
We're
went
like eating
fucking.
sick animals now.
I know, like it's mental, isn't it, when you think about it? Like they just like imagine how shit the world has gone ever since like the 1930s. Like, has anything really, is there, apart from really the 60s, like, and the movements and stuff and the music, there hasn't really been a great time ever since. Everything's been pretty fucking shit. Like people's mental health's been getting worse, people's health, they're get like, even though they're living longer, they're a lot more unhealthy. And a lot of that is to do with like the food pyramid that they made in the 70s. And I think a lot of it, all of the mental health issues that come now, I think a lot of this really stems from the fact that we don't have that. Like our brains have cannabis receptors
Mhm.
and we're not consuming it anymore, like as part of our normal diets, like we used to. And also a very random fact is that hens love cannabis leaves.
Who? Oh, hens.
Yeah, they do. They love cannabis leaves.
Yeah, yeah. You have a few hens yourself, you do.
No, I
Oh,
know a grower that has them, and like he was carrying his plant through the garden, and the hen just jumped up and like robbed a leaf off the plant.
oh, lovely. Yeah, my friend has a few outdoor plants, and I've called a boy, to have a look at them a few times, and I've had the dogs with me, and the dogs love eating the shade leaves. They love eating them, and
Really?
yeah, my two dogs loved it anyway, and his did as well. No problems at all. They just go over and munch on a few shade leaves, and like there's no worry there. Like obviously, shade leaves they've very little or no cannabinoids. Not going to get the dog
Yeah.
high at all. But yeah, they seem to have a nice preference for it. It's kind of like, do you ever see them when they go eat? They were like very fussy about what blade of grass they'd eat.
Yeah, oh for fuck's sake, my
They
dog's
didn't
the
care what leaf they had off of that plant.
same. Well, he wouldn't need a cannabis plant, but I'm pretty sure he's fucking stoned all the time because he licks my husband, and I'm like, it must be like licking a psychedelic tree frog at this stage. Every time he looks, he just gets high.
Oh, lovely. There, green tea. You haven't had any interactions yourself in the past with the authorities, no?
No, no, no. I'm a quiet girl.
Thankfully, yeah, no, that's good. Long may that continue. But did you ever get on easy then when you're around them or anything like that? You ever worry like that? Oh crap, I smell like cannabis and there's a guard there.
I don't go anywhere. I
Fair
don't go
enough.
anywhere. So like I would never bring my smoke out of the house. So like if I was going somewhere, I'm going to the park or whatever, like I just bring the dog and then I come home and have a smoke when I come home. But like I am careful about making sure that it doesn't go anywhere, because the word like the other thing that I'd be extremely worried about is if people finding out that I was doing it here and then coming and trying to break in the house to see if I have any.
Tried to steal
Uh,
your cannabis.
yeah, so I'm very, very careful about taking it anywhere.
Lovely.
Like I wouldn't. I know that's probably very boring. Like I probably would if I was going somewhere for the day. I'd probably fill my vape and just bring it with me,
Hmm.
and that would do me like.
Yeah.
And I have them we joint cone thingies, for putting the joints in. So if he was going somewhere, I'd just put them in there and take them, and that would do me. But like I'm super fucking careful with it. I just don't take it anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. And it was just when I was thinking, you were telling me you were growing the Mendocino skunk, one of Chung's choice ones from Paradise Seeds. I've tasted that before in the past, and it was tasty to say the least, and had a lovely smell off it too. And really nice thick dense buds as well.
Oh, holy shit. Like we were so low that I had cleaned out my keef drawer in the bottom of my grinder, like, and then the little branch of mendo I took off was dry, so I trimmed it all up and then we were smoking it. And the bottom of my keef tray was nearly full again. Like there was so much in the bottom, like, and and that was like, I took that branch like a week before I harvested it, which was yesterday. So I think these ones should be even better.
Nice, yeah, they're lovely.
And they do have a lovely flavor. Like when you get it cured for a few weeks, it is lovely. Oh,
Nice.
if I do get down your way, because I am planning, like if he goes to respite, I'm doing road trips, because I love driving. So I was thinking of maybe going to West Cork and seeing if I could spot a few whales. I think it'll probably be too late in the year for though. But if I
That'd
did,
be
I'd
beautiful
probably
if you
stop.
could.
Yeah, I'd drop you in a wee bud. But I've got like a Jack Herer coming out next week, and then I've got a Bubba Kush 2 weeks after that, and a Lemon Haze 2 weeks after that, and then probably a Sour Diesel 2 weeks after that. So I'll always gonna have something to bring with me, like.
Yeah,
So
nice.
I have staggered. I don't plant like 4 at once, and then I can only do one at a time because I don't have the time or the room to harvest 4 plants. Like,
Nice.
so
And
I just kind of do it one after the other.
is your strain selection always aimed at medicine for your husband, or do you have personal preference for stuff yourself as well?
Yeah, Lemon Candy by Philosopher's Seed is my favorite.
Candy,
My
nice.
absolute favorite. I have one. I've just put it into flour. It is, what is it? It's Lemon OG and Amnesia Haze
Hmm.
crossed. So it's a really good antidepressant. It's the best antidepressant I've ever taken.
Nice.
And I love any kind of lemon strains like that. I love Bloody Skunk by Sweet Seeds. And I am growing a few new strains that and I like Northern Lights. I grew one of them. It was lovely.
Nice.
But anything with lemon in it. I have a strain that I want to try. It's called Tropicana Poison. They're like pink buds. They come out bright pink.
Hmm.
And they're like 24% THC. I have this other one. It's called Gorilla Girl by Sweet Seeds that I want to try, and it's 32% THC. I actually want to get it for him to see if he's on his really bad days, like, would it help?
Yeah.
So those are like fast flowering out autos. They're 9 weeks from seed to harvest, like, so.
Yeah. So for your husband, if you're looking for those kind of higher THC strains, is that what you'd be looking for, or would you be going for kind of the indica dominant? Would you be going for that, or would you be looking at the THC?
It's indica dominant that I go for, but I do want to see if it makes any difference if I give him a higher THC one. It's just purely an experiment. It's not like I think I don't know if it'll do any more for him. Like,
Yeah, because you can get sativa varieties with like really high THCs as well, but the
yeah,
effects can be totally different.
yeah, the indicas he needs because it's the couch lock that relaxes the muscles.
Yeah.
But my mendo, I don't know, like if you tried it, right, you know that, like, for the first, like he said to me there last week, he was like, this must be good shit, because I smoked it and then I was sitting here really high and I was like, oh, that's nice, I'm gonna smoke another bit. And then 20 minutes later, I'm still sitting here and I haven't smoked anything else. So it must, like, it must be doing him all right. Like, so it has like a couch lock, but it's not like where it kind of pushes you back in the chair. It's kind of just gently takes you and places you back in the chair so you don't fucking know what's happening until like 25 minutes later you're sitting there going, what the fuck, where did all my time go? And then it's got like a really nice mental uplifter, which he needs as well. So that's why I picked it like the first time. Well, I picked it the first time because I wanted to try one of the Chong's ones and I thought the hybrid was a good compromise. So because I didn't know whether to get the indica or the Zevas, and I just got the hybrid, so that's why I got the Mendo. And that has been, that I can't believe I just can't believe how big it is. I really can't believe how big it is. But, yeah, it's been really fun, like experimenting with them all. But like, I love lemon strains. Lemon candy is my favorite. I have a lemon haze that's just gone into flower. I
very
haven't
nice.
tried. I've tried that out of the illegal black market, but I've never tried it like growing it myself.
So, yeah.
And I have, what else do I have going? A Northern Lights and a Bloody Skunk.
Nice.
I want them for Christmas. So
one of my top three favorites was a lemon skunk from DNA Genetics. Got it many years ago. I don't know if they have that strain available anymore.
lemon skunk.
Yeah, it was lemon skunk from DNA Genetics. I think.
I have seen it. Yeah, the Irish Seed Bank has it, but I don't know if it's the same seed.
Yeah, that was the problem. Yeah, I don't think it's the same genetics, same line of genetics. The one that I got that time was amazing. I think I even got some off them afterwards, and it was like very similar to it. And another one up there
If I
was
do have lemon candy, I'll bring you down a wee bit, because if you like lemon skunk, you'll like lemon candy.
nice.
It's
Yeah,
really
no, I definitely like the citrusy ones. You can really tell the citrusy
yeah.
ones too. Like they almost make your mouth water rather than giving you a cotton mouth. That's what I really like about those.
Exactly. And one of the ones my favorite ever that I grew was a strawberry kush. The smell of it was unreal. It literally was just like strawberries. Like you'd walk in to
Amazing.
where I grow it and it just hit you like a waff in the face for the last 2 weeks. Or I grew a Mexican sativa one time, which is lovely. It's by Sensi Seeds. It's really lovely. The smell is gorgeous. But I can only grow one feminized at a time. So at the minute it's a lemon candy, and I was kind of debating whether to grow another one basically for the winter, because I want to grow a double banana kush. I have seeds in there that I want to grow, but I don't want to put myself through that, because feminized in the winter is fucking nightmare. Like trying to get them and the cold weather and all that, I just can't be fucking bothered. And plus the cost of it is not arse, like, so I'm
So you
just
just
gonna
go with autos, is that?
yeah, I'll go with the fast flowering autos for the whole winter. I have
Ah,
got like specifically fast flowering ones just to keep me going.
no, that's
But
a
I
well
have
thought
like,
out plan.
yeah, I have 3 ready. Like when the Mendo comes out, I have 3 autos ready to go in under that light. And then they're ready for flower, and then I have 3 more that are vegging. So by the time they're finished flowering, these 3 should be ready to go in and flower with them, and then I can start the next lot. And that's just how I do it. Just keep it in
Nice.
routine like that.
Yeah, that'd be handy. An extra tenth, all right, we'll go very even more nicer, you know, if you get those 4 week
Oh,
cycles going.
yeah, oh my God, would you stop? I need a bigger light for that tent that
Yeah.
I got. Like it's probably, it would take like an SF 7000. So I'm gonna maybe start saving up for that.
And I think as much as cannabis is not addictive, like we should put like a warning on cannabis growing. It's just like warning, you might become addicted.
Yeah, exactly. The growing is very addictive. Like it's really exciting watching them all like kind of grow up and see how they all do. Like
Yeah.
like I'd love to be like a consultant to go and set up everybody's grows for them. That'd be, and set up their tents and their lights and all. And we're like, this is what you do. I'd love to do that for people. Like, but there's like, I'd love to grow my own. I'd love to like breed my own strains. These are all. I'd even settle for a bong cleaning business, because I'm really good at that as well.
I'm cleaning
Um,
nice.
I don't care. Just let me do something, like, because this is like my degree was in insurance, and I got it while I was working full time, and you had to basically do like continuous professional development every year to keep it. So when I dropped out of the workforce, I lost it after 2 years. Like, so if I want to go back, I have to do the whole thing again. So like I'm like, fuck it, I already have a skill in this. Can I not just do this? I don't want to have to go back and do all my exams again. Like,
Yeah, that's it. Like when cannabis becomes legal in Ireland, it's just like how do you put your experience that you've gained over the years, you know, growing it yourself on paper, you know, and that was a problem faced for
exactly.
many people in
I
the
just
US.
I'll bring them a bud of something like her and say, here, try that and tell me what you think. Then give it. If you don't fucking like it, then don't give me a job.
That's it. Yeah, let your work speak for itself. Hopefully it'll come soon anyway, because people like yourself, you know, it's a real valuable thing to have in our community, for people to be able to be grown, to be so passionate, I suppose, first of all, like about this, but motivated also to go out there and help people too. like you seem like, again, as I said earlier, like you've got a heart of gold. You're motivated by your desire to want to help and improve people's lives. So imagine if we were to empower people like yourselves in their communities to be able to set up little grow collectives, not even driven by the motive for profit, just for
Mm,
the love of the plant and the love of
mm,
wanting to put smiles on others people's faces, with or without the use of this plant, you know. It's just a real missed opportunity by our society that we're continuing to keep people like yourself hidden away, locked up, like treating them like criminals, you know. Like you're one of the
yeah.
bad ones now, like in society.
Oh
You
yeah,
said it
I'm
yourself, you're a
fucking
good girl,
terrible,
like what?
Mark. I'm horrendous. I'm a terrible person for growing my husband's medicine farm, like, and not buying it off a fucking criminal.
Yeah,
Like that's the choice. That's the choice they give
but
you.
not
You either
even
buy it
that.
off a criminal or you fucking grow it yourself, and then you do 5 years for growing it yourself.
Yeah,
So,
or what many people do out there is, unfortunately, to just suffer without it. Like many people don't even, they're not even brave enough to go and buy it off the criminals. They're like, no, no, I can't break the law.
like somebody with MS, right? If they're just like a normal everyday Joe So person, they might not even know anybody. Like
Hmm.
where to get it or anything like. And I think it is, it's just, I think it's criminally negligent, and that's what I think. I think at best that is the kindest way I could put it. Oh, excuse me, the other side of it is that I think it's fucking psychopathic, to be
Hmm.
honest. I don't understand, like it's all purely motivated by the profits of a few private companies. That's the only reason why it's still illegal here, like. So morally I have a real problem with that, because it's not like, this government, they don't really give a shit. Like they say they're like law and order, blah blah blah, but they're not. Like the fucking Taoiseach is under investigation for leaking stuff,
Yeah.
and that's still going on. And they thought that would have been finished months ago, and now I think they're after finding more messages, so they're way off doing something else. And the level of corruption going on in there, like they took some of that housing bill, right, for that came out over the summer. There's literal bits of that were just copied and pasted from the developers, what they wanted, like, and put into a bill. So it's not like that it's not illegal, but that is a crime, like.
Yeah.
So what you have to now do is like say what's right, do what's right or do what's legal. That's the choice, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing what's right, and if you don't
Good
like
on
it,
you.
then you can take me to court.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I would gladly support you if you ever end up there. By all means,
thank
do
you.
keep us in the
And
loop.
if you ever end up there, I will definitely support you too.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. Hopefully, neither of us will ever need it.
But like, I think this would be fairly good evidence to put up in court now, to be honest with you. If I was ever, I just like send that to a couple of solicitors or to a couple of journalists. Like, just listen, like, because
That's
you're
it all
not
laid bare.
like you're not doing anyone any favors, like, and you already, like, family carers are just completely ignored. Like we weren't even mentioned in the vaccine rollout. Like all this talk about a frontline bonus, you didn't hear a word about family carers, because like really nobody gives a shit about us. So the only time they would ever pay me any attention is if they were prosecuting me. So unfortunately, but you just learn to live with that, like, because these people are just ignorant at the end of the day. But if it was their family member, like if it was Leo Varadkar's husband, God forbid, who got MS and he was using cannabis to control it, you'd be damn sure that Leo Varadkar would be getting it for him, and there would be no problem.
Yeah, they wouldn't skip a heartbeat. Yeah, that'd be done over a click of a finger. Be done. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
So
we will probably never hear about it though.
exactly, yeah. You might hear about it in an English newspaper, but they never fucking publish it over here.
Yeah.
So it is like it does kind of feel like they wouldn't actually really understand it unless they were experiencing it themselves, because they have no empathy with people. They can't identify with my situation. They can only identify with it if they're in it themselves.
Yeah.
So that's just because they have no intention or even the inclination to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and to see what it's like, because it is heartbreaking, like watching people fight so hard and then getting so little, like, and
Yeah.
it's a dereliction of duty, really is, like.
I would agree
Anyway,
with you
I'm
there,
not gonna
definitely.
I'm not gonna give out about that anymore, but that is the one thing, like, out of everything talking about Irish politics, and especially like housing and health, and then fucking this as well. It just depresses the life out of me. Like, I'm involved with local politics, and I want to step back because it's depressing me so much to listen to all this and to watch it all happen. Like, you're just watching all this, and if you know, like, and if you follow particularly American politics, because in American politics businesses can essentially buy politicians.
Yeah.
So when you hear like them, there's anti-cannabis politicians in the States, right? And you hear them making these fucking ridiculous bullshit arguments that they're being paid to essentially being paid to say by Big Pharma, and then you turn on Oireachtas TV and you see fucking some TD saying the exact same thing, and you know that they're all just talking to the same fucking people, and we will never know about it because they just don't count it as lobbying.
Yeah.
And like, it's not just the TDs, it's the civil servants around them that get lobbied as well. And they don't have to register anything. They don't have to tell us who they've been speaking to, and they're not elected. So it's just, it's really hard to exist in this space sometimes. And if you think about it too much and why you're in this space, and like, because it's all political decisions, right? It's all of this, like the fact that I'm homeless, right? That's political. That was a political choice now not to give me access to housing. It's a political choice to leave me in poverty, living on 220 euros a week, soon to be 224 euros a week.
Hey.
And it's a political decision then to make my husband suffer because you think some fucking lobbyists has come in and fed your office a whole pile of bullshit, for their own benefit and not for the benefit of the Irish people. Like, so I just want to be away from it all now. I really do. I'm more focused on my cannabis work, to be honest, and probably more on the activist side. Like, I'm probably going to start doing more of this stuff, like, and more with trying to get journalists to listen to me and that stuff than trying to do what I'm doing now, because it's so hard to sometimes to just look around you and see who's in charge, like, and whose voices get elevated even if they don't represent the people, like, or the people's wishes, like. Exactly, like, you never hear, like, you all during the pandemic when you were watching like Clareburn Live or whatever, all you had on was business owners talking about how hard it was. You never had a fucking worker on minimum wage on talking about how hard it was and how their bosses were stealing their fucking tips and how they're getting their face screamed at for fucking fuck all money.
We're yet to have Vera Toomey on the Late Show. Like, if there's ever a woman deserving of a spot in the Late Show, it's Vera Toomey.
Hero, like, she really is.
Yeah.
And it's all about who they want, not like who we want.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Were we watching the recent the Health Committee discussion on the Medical Cannabis Access Program? It was on there.
I watched a little bit of it and then I got really upset and I turned it off.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How are we feeling through watching? So yeah, you had to turn it off. Yeah, but honestly, I was the exact same.
Yeah, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I just, and then the budget. So.
No, only for me having the report on it afterwards, or to try to understand what they were discussing. I didn't want to watch any more than, like, it was like 2 minutes in and I was like, I had enough already. I was listening to that guy, what's his name, Brian Kendi or something like that. Was his name, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm an epilepsy doctor, a pediatric epilepsy doctor, and but I don't know anything about cannabis. But it's not good for I'm not good for my patients. It's like, dude, you just admitted you're not an expert in it, but at the same time you're going to demonize it and speak ill of it. It was just really enraging. But yourself, Vera, Alicia, nobody was happy with that discussion. Like, these guys up there are incredibly out of touch.
Yeah, and honestly, I just pieced out. I was like, I am not going to put myself through watching this fucking shit and watch Gino Kenny be treated like an insane person when he's actually the only one in there talking any fucking sense. And like, that really gets to me, like, seeing people get made fun of, like, for trying to do the right thing for people. And like, it really does speak to like the mindset of a lot of our politicians, that they see like a politician trying to do the morally right thing for the people of Ireland as something to laugh at and to be ridiculed. And it's awful. Like, that actually, I think if any one of them came knocking on my door, I would probably be a mixture of like roaring and angry crying at them, like, get off my property, I don't want you here. You fucking
I've had the pleasure of running in an election down here against some of them,
yeah, I heard
and
that.
yeah, they're like, some of them are like, they're almost human, but then you kind of realize, like, oh yeah, this guy isn't really human. He's like, he's got like a mask on. He's not showing you who he really is, or she. That was my experience of some of the politicians there, in the way in which they talked and like hid behind different issues and stuff. Because again, my thing, it was no denying, it was mainly around drugs, drug policy reform. And many of them would agree with me, but then they would talk about, but the party, but the party, like that's what it was always like. They're like freaking robots. Like, it's like everything
Yeah.
has to be like, but the party. It's like, I agree with you and I sympathize with you, but the party, like, the party comes before you and you don't matter. Like, I agree with you and I sympathize
Well,
with you, but the
all
party.
I'm gonna say is you let them fuckers cling on to their Fianna Fáil life raft and see how fucking far it gets them. Because the next election, those two parties are gonna be decimated.
Yeah, bye bye.
And the Greens, while we're
Oh
at it,
gosh.
went in. They were even worse because they went in promising cannabis legislation, and then literally during like government talks, the only talk there ever was about it was Eamon Ryan on a Zoom call to the Green Youth saying, "Oh, we talked about cannabis, but the other two parties said no," and
Yeah.
that was. He didn't try and leverage anything. Like he could have just said, I'm walking away if you don't legislate for this, and you can go back and face the electorate
Yep.
and see how far you get when Sinn Féin are actually running enough candidates, because like that would have been the only way to get it done. That would have been the only way to get it done. And that was at the only point. He had all the power to do so many great things that he promised he was going to do, and he didn't do it. So that's, I think, even worse than like Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, because at least they'll fucking tell you, like, they're not going to do anything worthwhile for anybody under the age of 55. Like, but when the Greens go in then promising on stuff and then not delivering, that's disenfranchises people. Like,
Big
it
time.
turns people off politics and it turns people off voting. Like, that's even worse.
Oh, big time. I know a lot of people actually disenfranchised by the Green Party's move that time. I know many people who would have voted for the first time and only voted for the Green Party because they spoke so in favor of cannabis. And then that's what they got met with, 2 months into the government talk discussions. It's like they just, oh yeah, we don't care about cannabis. It's like, we'll take that off the table. No problem at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're not a chip to be fucking bargained with. We're actual people with actual needs, and all you're doing is just delaying us getting access to what we want. Like,
Yeah.
and just like, because it's all delay, because they know what's going to happen eventually. Like, so why would you not just take the political win and legislate for it when you're doing so badly? Like, with the people, everybody fucking hates you. Like, this would actually get people to fucking like you again.
I think they
So
I think they've told a lie for too long that cannabis is like really bad and so bad for society that they almost believe it. So they're so afraid now to legislate for it. That's what they're going to do with the Citizens Assembly. They're going to
mm,
like, or they're going to distance themselves from the decision to legislate to change our drug policy here in Ireland by, having the Citizens Assembly. Well, the citizens voted for this, so if we do this now, you can't blame us for it. That's kind of what they're trying to do at the moment. Because I do think that they actually do believe some of their lies about like cannabis being a thing. Even though Stephen Donnelly knows though that cannabis is enjoyable because he admitted to enjoying it himself.
yeah, it's just like, and I think Leo Varadkar even admitted on stage that he had it once as well.
He did, yeah, and a few yolks as well.
Yeah. And like, I've never done anything harder than cannabis. Like, I've never done any other drug ever. Like, so, like, that's how much of a straight-laced person I am.
I would
Like,
be able to say the same thing, except drink was my downfall. It led me to trying out cocaine one evening. That was due to drink. Wouldn't have happened had I been sober that evening, but yeah.
I don't really drink anymore anyway. I have to get up too early. Like, the hangovers aren't worth it. I
Oh,
wouldn't be
really?
able to get through my fucking day if I was drinking that. I literally wouldn't. My hangovers are all, like, I need, what is it now? I need an old priest, a young priest, and two Solpadeine and a bottle of Lucozade. That is what I need whenever I'm hungover. It's like, send the priest, send the guards, send everybody. I'm dying. No, that's why I don't drink anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah, like myself as well, lightweight at best. But Green Tea, I'm after taking up more than enough of your time this evening. I've exhausted all my questions and discussion here for you. Do you have anything you want to add or anything like that before we finish up, or do you have any kind of questions you want to fire away yourself?
No, I have no questions. Like, I mean, sure, I see you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like, but
420.
But no, all I will say, and I will end on this, is that this is like, if you're a cannabis smoker and you're watching this or you're listening to this and you are not registered to vote or you're not voting, then you really need to, because like this budget, right, was shit. Now, they gave free contraceptives to young 17 to 25-year-olds or something, I don't know.
Yeah,
Young people, yeah. They gave them half price bus travel and something else. A €200 rise in the grant and something to do with the geographical limits on the grant or something as well. And they only did that because they are fucking terrified of young people voting.
Yep,
absolutely fucking terrified. And they should be. So if you want to terrify your local TDs by like turning up and voting for like a candidate that supports legalization, then fucking do it. Or even just left wing or anybody that you think might do it, like, or has said they're going to do it. Then that is what you should be doing, because that's the only way we're going to fucking get it, is if we scare the fucking life out of them.
100%. And just to add to that as well, if people are like considering to vote in their area and there's no representative there that is running on a policy or what's the word I'm looking for, a campaign a campaign to legalize cannabis, then do it yourself. It's not that difficult for people to go and run an election. So I'll always encourage people to go run themselves if there's somebody not there that will represent their views or values. Then why not be that person themselves? Because if they find themselves in a position where there's not somebody there that they can vote for, how many other people are out there like themselves looking for somebody to vote for, but there's nobody there? So you could be that person if you just put yourself forward. So I just put that out there to people as well.
Exactly. And try and get on local radio. That's a great way of getting people to listen to what you're saying, because local radio are always looking for people to come on. Like sometimes they don't really have much on. So if you can email them in and get them to take you on and talk about it, then that's actually a really good way of getting the conversation started.
No, that's
like the stuff that you do as well, like the planting outside the gardai station, and that's great for getting conversations going.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Stuff like that is great. Activist work, really, it does work. Like, so thank you for all your work, Martin.
No problem at all. I really appreciate your own efforts as well, Green Tea, because as I say, it's no easy thing to come on and effectively you're putting yourself out there, almost exposed. I know you're behind the alias Green Tea, but you're still putting yourself out there. You engage with the business post as well. You trusted another journalist, that journalist wasn't going to go straight off to the cops and say, hey, this woman got on to me and says she's growing cannabis for her partner. And you so fair play. That's not an easy thing to do, and you're adding to the momentum that's building here for change in Ireland. So well done. Thanks very much. I really do appreciate it, Green Tea.
Right, I'll let you go and have a great evening, and I hope your wee baby comes healthy and soon, if I don't talk to you before that.
Yeah, 3 weeks and 2 days now today, so almost there. Exciting times.
Bye.
Bye, Green Tea. Bye. And there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Green Tea. Again, thanks very much to Green Tea for finding the courage for speaking out and highlighting the suffering caused in our life by Prohibition, and also for highlighting how cannabis is so helpful there for her husband, and the different symptoms they're caused by his multiple sclerosis. Again, it's extremely shameful that people find themselves in a situation where they have to break a law in order to help provide an effective remedy for their loved ones' conditions. So guys, thanks very much again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show, and just to remind you that if you want to support the show and support the fight for legalization in Ireland, then you can sign up to the patreon.com or make a donation in the form of cryptocurrency over on the link found on martinsworld.ie. There is currently Bitcoin, Engine and Ethereum over there being accepted as donations. All of the funds, guys, will be used to support the show, but hopefully as well help to open up a cannabis activist hub here in Cork City very soon. Fingers crossed on that one. So I'll be back with more interviews again during the week, guys. Until then, stay blazed and keep her lit. Bye.